Happy New Year. Happy New Year. No, that's all I get. Everybody's still asleep. Happy New Year. There we go. Help me preach. I am excited. How many are happy that we're stepping into a new year? To sing a song like Waymaker, well, 2020 needed that song. 2020 needed a lot of the worship songs that we were singing because 2020 was a rough year. We all thought that was rough. 2020 was a rough year, and finally we can all look at it and say, finally, 2021 is here, and for whatever reason, that makes everybody feel a little bit better because we're in a new year. I'm excited. I'm excited to introduce our new theme. The new theme sits right here in this box. But I never want us to be confused. I never want us to be confused of our vision. As a church, our vision comes from James chapter 1, verse 22, that we're to be doers of the word. That never changes. We are always going to look at scripture and learn how to apply that to our lives. James chapter 1, 22, we're going to be doers of the word. That never changes. That is why I show up every single Sunday. That's why we built the stage. That's why we try to have a room for little kids so we can help concentrate in on how do I apply this word to my everyday life. How do I sit in a service for 45 minutes, drive an hour and a half, drive 45 minutes? How do I sit there and am able to walk away and be a better father, a better husband, a better employee, a better student, a better child? See, how do I spend 45 minutes soaking in His Word to then go do what His Word has called me to do? I came this morning ready to preach a word. Coming to church and going to church is very similar, as most of us might have experienced this as we go to the store and we're in need of toilet paper because we recognize the necessity for having toilet paper, as toilet paper is essential in our life. 2020 brought to the surface some things that we really need, and toilet paper was one of them. Yes, we're all in agreement with that? So you go to the store, you stock up to only have it run out, and you realize the necessity to go out again and get some more. That's the concept of going to church. You see, what you are sitting under today will eventually run out. You sit under a great word, you receive some great prayer, you have a great moment in the Holy Spirit, you raise your hands, you give it all to Jesus, then you leave and somebody cuts you off. Then you leave and a spouse says the wrong words to you. Then you leave and all of a sudden your waiter is doing something wrong, so you're short-tempered. Did you sitting under His word radically change your life? I see it. I see it in some of you where you sit under His word and it's radically changing your life. Where we talk about finances and then now you're stepping into 2021 and you are debt free. Where we talked about your relationships and you were in a poor relationship in 2020 and now you're stepping into 2021 and your relationships are now different. Where you were once in an area where you had no idea what you were doing. Your job wasn't leading you anywhere and you were trying to figure out what to do, and now you're stepping into 2021 and there's excitement because see, now I'm stepping into a zone where I feel like this is where I'm called to be. Man, I got a great word, but you got to understand, going to church, it's like going to the gym. Here's what I hear all the time. I don't want to go to church so much because it's hypocritical. People showing up with their church jackets on, their church faces on. I don't want to do it. So now going to the gym is the same exact thing. Going to the gym, you go and you're on a treadmill right next to somebody who just went to Cane's. Or afterwards, it's stopping by Shipley's because it's so close to 34. You just got to go get you a bag of donut holes because you know there's going to be 24 in that bag. Some of you have no idea what I'm talking about. But you never think to yourself at that person on the treadmill, what a hypocrite. You see, you embrace them, you engage, you say, they're going to motivate me to keep running. See, the purpose of coming to church is to get motivated to keep doing what you are doing. Now understand, you can't go to church and surround yourself with a bunch of believers a couple of times a year and expect to see the fullness of what the Lord has for you. This church, our goal is to equip the saints. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 12. It talks about us coming together and to equip the saints for every good work. And you are the saints. You're the saints that then grow other saints. So if your learning is wrong, if your habits are wrong, then you will duplicate wrong habits. Parents always look at their kids and say, I don't know what's wrong with my kids. It's not my fault. No, let me tell you, most of it is probably your fault. Most of the aggression that my kids have it's my fault. Most of the way that they talk directly, Annette, to other people, and it's like, oh man, that was kind of wrong, is kind of my fault. I am very direct. So then my kids pick up that habit. So I go to church and I learn how to be a bit more calm or compassionate. I'm still learning that. You made a great decision today as we launch a new area of focus. And though I can't see all of your faces, I'm glad that some of you are joining online. We have a couple of families. Hey, Anthony, how's it going, buddy? We have a couple of families who are unfortunately out feeling a little ill today. Not COVID. Don't worry. Stay calm. They're just feeling, a little under the weather. But I'm glad that you're joining us and glad that you're making church a priority this year. Again, you made a great job to start off. There's 52 Sundays a year. Congratulations. There are now 51 Sundays left out of 365 days. You're off to an amazing start. For the most part, 2020, we lost our minds. 2020 was just a rough year. We lost our minds. Facts didn't mean anything. We lost a sense of reality. What was real? What was fictional? What was a fact? We began creating our own numbers and making up our own facts, quoting things that we heard somebody else say without fact checking it and just saying, well, I heard on the news, and so obviously it has to be true. Well, I heard on the radio, so obviously it has to be true. A fact is a real thing that is known or proved to be right. It's proven to be true. It is a fact. Toyotas are the best vehicles. iPhones are the best phones. Okay, maybe that's not an actual fact. But facts are things that are known to be proven to be true. In 2020, we entered into a movie position, y'all. We entered into a movie position where it was fact versus faction. Some of you have seen the movie. And the factions were if you were in the medical field, if you were science, if you were in a political arena, if you were a police, if you were essential, if you were non-essential. We saw fact versus a specific faction. We saw factual truth, fabricated. We saw factual truth versus fabricated truth. In numbers of police brutality, we saw truth, and then we saw fabricated truth. We saw death rates. We saw truth, and then we saw fabricated truth. In the positivity rate, I'm about to get all up in our lives here in a minute. Some of you are going to be a bit edgy. Just bear with me here. We saw a positivity rate. We saw factual truth versus fabricated truth, all centered around an agenda of how to lead people in a certain way of thinking and how they're going to make decisions. See, I came this morning to preach a word today, but it has nothing to do with Romans chapter 12, verse 2, but it's essential to our understanding that we come to have our minds renewed so we're not conformed by the world, but we're renewed by His word. Understand we cannot create numbers without factual data and proof. I want to break this down a little bit because it goes into our theme this year, because we don't just roll out of bed and choose a vision for 2021. And so I want to talk just about fabricated truth. We own 4 houses. Aubrey and I own 4 houses. We rent 3 of them out. And regardless of my agenda to grow in real estate, regardless of my agenda to grow our portfolio in property development, regardless of all that, I still only have, easy math here, 4 houses. We rent 3 of them out. I cannot twist numbers. I cannot add bedrooms just in thin air. I cannot build a loft or a stage, and because I'm buying more flooring, then add additional square footage. I cannot take a bathtub out of a bathroom, put in a mattress, and call it a master suite. See, there are certain things that I cannot do to manipulate the fact of the properties that we own. I cannot tell people that we have rental properties at 7,500 square feet. While that is true, it sounds like we have houses sized at 7,500 square feet. I cannot base my rent off of a property size of 7,500 square feet. Some of this might be, but just bear with me here. There is factual truth and fabricated truth. As much as I have an agenda to make a little bit more revenue, I cannot take 7,500 square feet of property and charge people based on 7,500 square foot of property. I can't make decisions that way. It's like looking at something online and then seeing it in person and then you're confused. It's like looking at the Whopper in somebody's hand And you're trying to figure out, is that a girl sign or a guy sign? Like, what? How big are we actually talking about here of this hamburger? In 2020, we were presented with created numbers. We were presented with a virus count. We were presented with vote counts. We were presented with death counts. We were presented with wrong statistics. We make decisions based on facts all the time. With fabricated numbers, it's hard to make right decisions. So we end up losing our understanding of what is truly essential. We have some very socialist-minded leaders in some states. Welcome to church this morning. Getting us accustomed and okay with being told where you're supposed to go, what you're supposed to wear, how many are able to be in your own home, defining who and what is essential. We're in a very socialistic mentality where you can't just choose to have a gathering without people telling you what you're supposed to do. Now, I understand because some might be thinking, Guillermo, I didn't come to church to hear about COVID. I didn't come to church to hear political agendas. I didn't come to church to hear about media. And I want you to understand something. I didn't come to church either to share my opinion. I came to church to talk about what his word says. And what you have to know is the devil, according to John chapter 10, verse 10, is looking to devour and to steal and to rob and to kill and destroy. That is the devil's agenda in your life. And what I saw in March was that he comes in using a virus, whether it was sent by him or not, I don't know. But what he did is he separated people from church. He separated people from their ability to read his word. And now we're attempting to get back to normal. And I want to make sure that we keep on the forefront of what we're supposed to be doing. We'll talk about these issues all the time. Because 1 Chronicles chapter 12, verse 32 talks about a tribe of Issachar who understood the times that they were in and knew the best course of Israel to go. So you have to know what's happening around you. So this church will always talk about what is happening in your neck of the woods. It'll always talk about what's happening in your area, in your generation. It'll always talk about the different issues in government, not from a political stance, but because it is our calling to fully know and understand what's happening around us so we know the best course we're supposed to take. If we don't understand what is going on around us, then when it's decision time, it'll be very difficult to make wise and biblical decisions. It is essential for all of us to know what's going around. The Bible says that we're supposed to be wise as serpents and as gentle as doves. Let's look at this word essential, as that was a word thrown around a lot in 2020. Absolutely necessary. It's indispensable. It's fundamental. It's crucial. Thank you for getting ahead of us. Our theme, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I get that there are some positions of what is fun, some certain positions of what is absolutely necessary. Now, before we step in, I want to talk about this a little bit more before we fully roll this out. Many of us are fully aware of what roles our government has in our life and what roles they don't. And I don't know if you know this or not, but our country has the provision for a governor to declare a state of emergency. Welcome to school this morning, okay? Just for a quick minute. Our governor has the ability to do a state of emergency. There's a clause in there that provides a state of an emergency that the government can make any decision without you voting. The government can make any decision without the Senate or the House. The governor, for the emergency of the people, can make a decision without you being involved at all. Our governor has the ability to do that. For about a 1 or 2 day, they have the right. We've granted them the right to make a decision for 1 to 2 days. This is where they say it's mandatory to evacuate because a hurricane is coming. So if there's a national disaster, they have the right to close a door, to open it for 1 to 2 days. Never have we experienced a government that has done a lockdown for 10 months, dictating where we're supposed to go and what we're supposed to do. Many of us found ourselves glued, tell me if I'm wrong, to a TV to find out whether or not you can go to a store, to find out whether or not you can go back to work, to find out whether or not you can go to the doctor, to find out whether or not you can go out to a park, to find out if you can go out on a track, to go bike riding. You had to get glued to a TV to listen to the media to tell you whether or not you were able to go back to church. In 2020, we saw fabricated understanding of what was essential in life. We saw a complete lockdown destroying businesses. We saw complete lockdown disabling students' ability to learn. Complete lockdowns that little kids have to now stare at a screen where it was teaching them to not have a screen in front of them. Now, please, just sit down and watch this, please. Where a mom of 5 now has to buy 5 different electrical devices for each child to be able to teach them through a device. Complete lockdowns, devaluing the livelihood of people. I'm sorry, you're not essential. I'm sorry, you're not essential. What the church and what Christ has been doing for so long to build up his people, to tell them you have value, now the government comes in and says, you thought you were important? You thought you meant something in your job? No. You, my friend, are not essential. You thought you had value in that? No, let me correct you. You don't have any value. You are not. See, that's not what maybe their agenda was, but those words dive in deep. They could have chosen any words to use. They could have chosen priority workers, important workers, essential workers, complete lockdowns on non-essential surgeries. Who defines a non-essential surgery? Your tooth jabbing into your gums, causing you immense headache? Essential? Non-essential. It's pretty essential. Unfortunately, it was on the non-essential list. I'm locked down. Welcome to my home, in my living room. I'm locked down. We have 7 kids. There's a surgery that I want done to make sure that we can go in 2021 with no babies. But it's not essential. Well, hold on now. I scheduled my appointment. I'm ready to go in. I pumped myself up, ready to get this thing out of the way. Snip, snip. And now I have to wait? Now I have to sit on this for months because it's not... You're locking me in my house with the woman that I love? Y'all, you can watch this on TV. I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable, but come on now. We lost the understanding of what is essential and who defines what's essential. So then when it comes to the church, churches can't meet. Churches with intentionality in the livelihood of people, churches who were creating accountability with community, churches who are trying to create a place for the Lord and the Holy Spirit to be made known in the life, churches with people who are serving, churches who are with people who are going out and being the hands and feet of Jesus, churches who were learning how to be better parents, how to be better educators, how to be better spouses. See, churches like those were then considered non-essential. Stay at home in your PJs, staring at a preacher who was in his PJs halfway down with a nice shirt halfway up because that's all that you could see around cutting grass or doing laundry, or see, just having it play in the background because you have other priorities that you needed to do in your life. See, stay at home and just watch the TV screen. You do it all the time. Just what's another sermon online? Honestly, the question that I have for believers who do online churches, how does that help your thought life? How does that help you turn off the porn when it's the middle of the night? How does that help you stay away from sexual drive? How does that help you not engage in a puff or in a drink? How does that help you with your anger issues? Because if I'm honest to myself, what helps me is surrounding myself with other believers, hoping they don't ask me about my anger issue. Because if they do, I have to confess and say, you know what? Actually, I lost it and I put a hole in the wall again this week. You see, I surround myself with believers hoping that they will ask me about my relationships. See, are you having right boundaries and parameters? See, I'm going to church expecting to be held accountable, and they screen, love you that you're watching, doesn't do that. The screen doesn't provide the opportunity for the Spirit to move, to lock eyes with somebody, for conviction to set in, and for you to then bust out in tears because you know the Lord is trying to lead you into breakthrough. See, there's been a lockdown. We saw alcohol rates increase in revenue. More people were buying beer than they were buying Bibles. Alcohol rates increased. We saw the abuse rate increase. We saw depression and suicide rise in all age groups, all because of a lockdown and leaders defining who is and who is not essential. Governmental leaders telling people who can't go to work, who can go to work, how you educate your kids, how you dress your kids, how you send them out. And then it turned into something a bit more eye-opening. It went from who can go to work and who cannot go to work to who can be in your home and who cannot be in your home. There are some states that did not permit people to have Thanksgiving dinner. And you were fined or imprisoned if you invited people to come into your home for Thanksgiving. See, there are some areas where you can't do what we're doing. Where neighbors are encouraged, if they see cars parked, and call the police because there's too many people. Wear a mask. I'll wear a mask. Like, it doesn't bother me one bit if you want to wear one or don't want to wear one. All I know is if the police come, I'll probably get a ticket. I don't know. You'll probably get in trouble. I don't know. What I do know is it is our right to be able to make the decisions that we're making right now. Bear with me here as this goes with our vision of why we're talking about this. Where the government tells us to turn on our neighbors when we're inviting friends and families over. Lawsuits right now, Bree, filling the court systems, trying to redefine what is essential. They've already redefined family. They've already redefined marriage. They've already taken biblical definitions of certain things and redefined them. And now we're looking at the word essential. What is truly essential is lost. And we cannot survive without a clear understanding of what is absolutely necessary, what is vital, what is required, what is critical for our everyday life. There are things that are a matter of preference, and there are things that are a matter of priority. Your interaction with your kids is not a preference, it's a priority. Your interaction in your marriage is not a preference, it's a priority. Your interaction in His Word is not a preference. It's a priority. It's essential. And that's why for the entire year of 2021, we're going to look at essential. We're going to look at these essential pieces because over 2020, what has happened is we've been, without knowing it, we've been altered, we've been indoctrinated, we've been washed a little bit with this wrong understanding of what is essential. So for 2021, we're going to ground ourselves in what is essential. We're going to look at this from a different perspective. We're going to open up His Word and we're going to see His Word, see what is actually essential in my everyday life. Another life-changing year. Now, before we fully move on, I have two things here. The first one is, if you do not have last year's Creating a Place magnets, I want to provide these every single year. We're going to drop these on there because we never stop creating a place. So these are small little magnets you put on your refrigerator door or wherever you got. But this year, I'm sending you home with something else. This year, I'm sending you home with our essential magnets. You put them on your refrigerator. You put them inside your car. You put them, put a sticker on it. I don't know. Make earrings out of them and hang them around because everyday life is lived with you making a decision on what's essential and what's not essential. Yeah. Every day you're making a decision. Am I going to spend an extra hour at work or am I going to spend an extra hour with Clay? You see, am I going to spend an extra hour doing laundry or am I going to spend an extra hour with my child? You see, what holds? Am I going to spend an extra hour doing googie faces or am I going to spend an extra hour with my hubby? See, what is essential in the moment? Yes, joy is still in our front yard and I know Christmas is over. Yes, I have holes in my wall. I get it. I know it. You don't got to point it out. Yes, there are fingerprints a little bit on the screen, but as long as it's on, you can't see it. There are things that are essential in life. So you prioritize what holds greater value so that you can make the right decisions. He is not a preference. Our Father is not a preference. He is not just one thing to consider one time a year. He's not an Easter God. He is not a Santa Jesus. He is somebody we press into every single day of every single year. He is not a small part of life for one day a week. He is the Alpha and the Omega. He is the beginning and the end. He is the creator and sustainer of life. He is the way maker. He is the restorer. He is the come on, y'all, help me preach a little bit. I don't want to talk to like I'm talking to a camera, like I'm talking to people here. For the love of God, help me preach. He is our Lord. He holds it all together. Sing the song. He holds it all. Give me something. He is the reason why we're here. And if that doesn't fire you up, then why are you here? An hour and a half is a long way to drive. 45 minutes is a long way to drive. Getting kids up, all of them, Annette, 5, 6, 7, 1. Goodness gracious. It's a lot. Why are we here? Why are we here? Because something inside of us tells us one little word. It's essential to be here. And you might not know why, but something inside of you is saying, see that I have to drive an hour and a half. I got to get out of bed. I got to put my face on. I got to put clothes on. I got to put pants on. And I got to at least get one of my kids' shoe on. I mean, that's good enough. Just one. And you have to know, some of you who are single, you probably don't experience this, but just about every time that you're taking the kids out of the house, one of them does something disastrous. Whether if it's a poop diaper, whether if it's spilling a gallon of milk, whether if it's peeing in the corner because they didn't want to go to the toilet, peeing in the trash can. Something, Clay, disastrous typically happens right when you're going to something essential. But when you're going to the park, it's amazing how that is the easiest trip you can ever make. When you're going out to eat, it's amazing. But see, we're building something essential in our life. 2021 is going to be a life-changing year. We got so many plans. Just think in the past couple of weeks of what you've experienced and the change you've already seen now. 2021 is going to grow. Your marriage is essential. Great, Guillermo. I get it. It's essential. So let's learn, how do we prioritize what is essential and how do we filter out what's not? I see it all the time in marriages where they're both upset because I've been working hard, I've been trying, I've been doing. And the spouse says, you never do this. A lot of time and a lot of energy. But if it's in the wrong areas, if it's not in the right essential areas and all of that effort, your parenting is essential. So Alice, how do you prioritize what is essential and what's not? Is a laundry more essential? Is changing sheets more essential? Is doing the dishes more essential? Or is playing a board game for just 15 minutes? You see, is the device more essential than your child, or are you giving them eye contact when they're talking to you? See, what is more essential? Would you stop? Or what is more essential? Hey, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's really good.
Because when your boss stands over you and yells at you, woo, let me tell you, everybody in Facebook's going to hear about it. You who are single, your singleness is essential. It's essential. Every married person will say, oh, if I was single, I would have, if I could go back, I would have. You wouldn't have done anything different. You, come on, liars. But those who are single, it is essential. But how do you prioritize what's essential? Well, I'm going to go back to school. No, hold on. You are $50,000 in debt already. Before you go back and rack up another 20, it's essential to maybe pay off. So, see, how do you prioritize in your single position? I can't wait to get married, boo. Like, I'm going to just buy whatever I want. It's going to be great. But see, have you already done what is essential? We're going to look at Genesis chapter 3, Genesis chapter 2, where Adam has to do some essential works before he gets his woman that he's been desiring. I'm so excited. I'm so excited about preaching the reason why I'm wearing a suit. I just can't wait. In about 4 weeks, I'm about to preach a good sermon on suit wearing. Listen here. Josiah, Christian, Jared, Amaya, James, you've mastered the crawl.
Way to go.
Sierra, where are you, Sierra? You've mastered the crawl. You've mastered walking forward. Now you're trying to master walking backwards faster than the people who are walking forwards. I know. That's what you're doing. You see, you're essential. Your creativity, Isabella, is essential. Crystal, your creativity is essential. Ellie, your creativity is essential. Your craziness, boy, your craziness is essential. But see, over year after year after year after year, it's something in the church. It's like, could you just put them somewhere, please? Like, we're trying to do adult things. Could you separate? I'm telling you right now, Jesus says in Matthew 18, whoever receives a child like this in my name, but causes whoever one of these little ones to sin or stumble, it would be better for him to have a great milestone fastened around his neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea. Anthony, I'm telling you, boy, you are essential, because Jesus looks at grown people and he says, anybody who causes these little ones to sin, it would be better to tie something around their neck, drop them in a pool, and just let them sink all the way down like Aladdin with no genie. In spite of what socialist-minded leaders tell you, where you can go, what you can do, what is essential, what lives are essential, whether in the womb it's essential or not essential, what lives matter, all of those things. This year, y'all, we're going to focus on His Word, and we're going to allow His Word to define what is essential.
Yeah.
You have to know you are essential. You are born with an inalienable, God-given rights that cannot be taken away. You have an assignment, and your role in life is essential. It is vital. Your life matters. Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5 talks about, in your mother's womb I knew you and I appointed you. Before you were even born, before they were thinking about getting married. But see, before all of that, see, I knew the calling of Lizzie. I knew the calling of Frankie. I knew the calling of Rebecca. You see, when you thought you had no purpose and everything was going south, see, Annette, before she was being formed in the womb, she was already predestined to be right here in this seat, not just to sit under a word, but to receive it, to be empowered. And you woke up this morning trying to figure out, am I really essential? Should I really be doing what I'm doing? Am I really good enough to be her husband? Am I really good enough to be a dad? You woke up with all of these thoughts, and maybe you didn't, but here's welcome to my living room. You woke up with all of these thoughts in your mind. Welcome to church this morning. For before you were formed in your mommy's belly, before all that, God appointed you and has called you and has said you are essential. It's going to be a great year. We're going to focus on some life essentials. We're going to have some marriage workshops, which I'm super excited about. We're going to have some parenting workshops. We're going to have some financial workshops. I'm tired of people talking about getting out of debt. Let's get out of debt. I'm a big fan of talking about it and then doing something. Sometimes we give money out, but we don't give money out to people who are going to put that money back in debt. We're going to read books. Yeah, you know those things that you open up? You can't scroll them, like they smell old, so you don't open them because it's old, you know? Those things. We're gonna read a couple of books. Aubrey, where are these books? I got books here. I'm developing ministries right now. Kids are fully a part of our church. We start with our own. Christian right here is looking for 3 other guys. He can find 3 other females too, but he decided he wants to do a guys group. So he's looking for 3 other guys to do a devotional with him. So you'll be given a book today. Now I only have 3 of these books. I can order some more books. So Christian, if you get more than 3 guys, let me know and we'll order some more books. But here's the accountability. It doesn't just start with adults. Starts with the little ones and they're wanting to do devotionals. And so here's what this book looks like. It is every single day these guys will read and they'll do, or these young ladies, this group will read and they'll do, and there's crossword puzzles, there's good interactions, there's Bible reading. Parents, you're going to have to be a little bit involved in some areas to help, but they have to be fully able to read. So this is not for those who are still learning sentence structure. They need to know how to read. Read. Like read. Read. Okay? Isabella and Amaya are helping me with the group called the Jesus Story Bible Book. It is 41 chapters. They are committing themselves once a week to read 1 chapter to a younger sibling. So if you have younger siblings in your home, this is your book. And you're committing to say, I'm going to read, even if they don't fully understand, a chapter a week. It's essential. Well, I don't think they're fully going to understand. Then stop talking to your baby. If your 6-month-old doesn't understand what you're saying, then don't talk to them at all. Don't give them any goo gagas. Don't pick them up when they're crying. Because if they don't know any better, then what's the point? So you obviously know that no, I'm just kidding. The baby does though. So you make it an essential part of your life. Because when they are 6, they see the necessity of the Bible being implemented in their everyday life. So we're looking for, if you don't have one of these books, these are free to members of our church. We just need to know that you don't have one. But it is for kids who cannot read or just now starting to learn to read. If you're 6, 7 years old, you can pick this up and read it. All right, let's jump into some of our adults. I'm reading a minimum of 12 books this year. I want you to read books with me, like actual books. 12, just 12. You can either A, read one book with me per month, which means that at the end of the year, you'll read 12 books, or you can go every other month. I don't want to read a book every single month, but I can do every other. So you'll read one in January with me, you'll read one in March with me, all right? But every day, and you're going to know all the books by next week. Here's what I'm reading in January, here's what I'm reading in February, here's what I'm reading in March, and you can cherry pick. Oh, I like this one. I don't want it. I'm not reading for your benefit, I'm reading for mine. So you're going to have to pick up which ones you want to read. I'm reading little books, big ideas for dads and daughter. I'm a guy. I know how to do guy things. I know how to talk to guys. Talking to my young daughter who comes up, look, they have a dress. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's not the right response? Oh, I get it. I'm supposed to twirl her 5 times? Oh, I'm supposed to run towards her and lift her up like we're in a movie? Oh, I was supposed to comment on your braids? Oh, got it. All right? I'm learning. We're all learning. How do I build a healthy family in a busy life? Man, my kids just ask me the craziest questions theologically. How do I comprehend and how do I communicate truth to their questions at their age? Because they're not theological students. They're 5 and 6 and 7. So how do I communicate that? Well, I want to learn how to do that. You know, I'm not a grandparent yet, but I know we have one here, and I want to get in her mind a little bit. So I'm going to read this book. It's Equipping Grandparents. I want to invite you to read it with me. And if you know that you might be a grandparent soon, then maybe you want to read that too. Now, I'm really working this year on how to be a great dad, so I'm going to look up 101 because 100 things great dads do isn't enough, so 101 is a good seller. And for the most of you who know, we are a busy family, and so I want to learn how to keep the Bible as an essential piece of our lives. We're reading books this year, and I want to invite you to press in because studying is essential. Studying is essential to our everyday life. We never read a book and not read His Word. You don't pick up a book and put down the Bible. Reading His Word is essential, and I want to encourage you to read with us this year. Absolutely, Isabella, absolutely. The virus was not anything good, and I'll talk about it. We'll sometimes make jokes about it, but I want us to understand the severity of the virus. It is 100% horrible. There are lost lives that we know of. There are people's lives that were impacted because of it. There are lives that will never be the same because of a virus. I never want to communicate that it wasn't significantly severe, but I don't want it to always be a crutch and a reason why we don't come to church. I want to highlight something. In this home, we have what's called a MERV 13 air filters. Some of you have no idea what I'm talking about. They're high quality, allergen friendly. I mean, they are the top of the line, $20 for one filter. I have to buy 3 of them. We are constantly clearing out the air of this room. We have high quality air purifiers. It cost me $200 each air purifier. Is retailed at $200. I didn't spend that because I don't like spending money. But we found these air filters and we're constantly purifying your dirty air. We have oils diffusing every room, almost every minute of every day, killing microscopic bacteria that you cannot see. I don't know if Cane's is doing that. We're disinfecting every single chair that you sit in before and after service. I don't know if the restaurant you go to does that. Our floor, Scott, is so clean, our kids eat off of it. Just ask them. I mean, you probably would too if it was your Oreo that fell on the floor. This year, we're committing ourselves to realign and prioritize what's essential. And we're taking everything that we have to do, every precaution to make sure that we're sitting in a good environment. But I need you to understand you are still taking a risk, just like you do when you're crossing the street at 10 o'clock at night in Acres Homes. Thank you for that. But be wise. If you are finding, and I just want to talk to a couple people, if you are finding yourself where you like going clubbing on Saturday and then you want to go to church on Sunday, I love that. But I need you to be wise. Because when you pick up something and you drop it off here, we still live here. Now, I don't want that to make you move out and not come. I want you to not go Saturday night to a club. I want you to realign what's essential. See, I either go to church or I go out. I'm going to choose to go to church. It's a priority value. It's a positioning, a realigning what is essential. Now, understand the enemy wants to convince you you are not important and you are not essential. He wants to stop you. He wants to enslave you. He wants to indoctrinate your mind, saying that you have no value. The enemy wants to lock God's people up in their home, locked into Hulu, not who you are in Christ. You are the salt and the light. Matthew 5:14, you are the light of the world. You are a city on a hill. You are, Isabella, a reflection of his image. You are well respected by others. 1 Thessalonians 4:12, you are to be doers of the word. You are disciple maker, said by Jesus himself. You are peacemaker, said by Jesus himself. You are to encourage those around you. Your marriages are supposed to be the salt and a reflection of God's love for the church. Your marriage, when you are out at the store, people should look at your marriage and be like, wow, that marriage, whoo. Your kids are supposed to be a crown of honor to grandparents and parents. There's an attack. Whether you want to call it an attack or not, that's what it is, as the devil wants to lock you up and your family in a home to redefine what the family looks like. You got to understand, and I say this to the devil, the gates of hell don't prevail against this church. This church has a vision. This church is alive. The church is fully aware of the devil's schemes, and we're not standing down. We recognize that we are free to worship, that we are free to live, that we are free to sing praises, that we are free to attend church, that we are free to work, that we are free to produce fruit, that we are free to live, because Jesus said in John chapter 10, verse 10, that the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I came to give life and life more abundant. This year, we're grounding ourselves into what is vital, what is crucial, what is absolutely necessary. 2020, the world taught us what was essential. And in 2021, the word will show us what is truly essential.